This portion of the CU podcast is brought to you by Whatnot, the go-to app for live stream buying and selling of collectibles. You can find your favorite retro games and connect with friends and your favorite game stores on the app. There's no bots to compete with. We don't like bots. There's no sniping. Ooh, sniping. You can see each auction and the seller. They're live on video. They explain the item they have, and you can bid. It's simple and fun. It's free to join. Go to whatnot.com/invite/country code to get $10 off your purchase. Use the link or find it in the App Store and Google Play. Make a profile, add a credit card, and you can be bidding on a live auction in under a minute. And they just announced a special event. Josh of SideQuest Games, we know Josh, he's bringing a licensed NES set to Whatnot auctions. You got Stadium events there. You got Little Samson. You got Bonk's Adventure. You got all the favorites, all the heavy hitters there. It's kicking off February 19th and running through March. It's a multi-day event with the NES library being auctioned off A to Z. The best part, the bidding on each cartridge starts at $1.
Wowza.
After you sign up, you go to the app, click on the Retro Games category, and follow SideQuest Games to be notified of those auctions. But Ian, there's other ones coming up.
Yeah, they've got all sorts of stuff coming up. On February 15th, Phoenix Resale will be auctioning a complete box Chip and Dale, Paladin's Quest, Super Empire Strikes Back, and a ton more sealed games. Also on the 15th, that's today, Jay Zombie has this GameCube special show. February 17th, The Bearded Bard will offer up a super rare Xbox Alpha 2 dev kit. February 18th, Shitty Bang, complete in-box Dreamcast and accessories. And also on the 18th, Retro Rick is auctioning off an entire storage unit. A whole storage unit full of games.
Wow.
On the 19th, Cheap Finds Gold Mines, Jungle Green N64 bundle with Conker's Bad Fur Day, a Sega Master System, and hundreds of more games. And on the 19th, Happy Husky Games will be doing a special Nintendo sale with over 150 items, major consoles, and free giveaways.
Go sign up and get yourself some retro games. Head to whatnot.com/invite/country code to get $10 off your purchase for any new user on the app. Whatnot. Buy, sell, and go live.
Update.
A lot's been happening in the past week in Amico land. We'll just call it the fallout, the beginning of the fallout, because a lot's going to happen with this. After change, CEO changed sometime last year, but after it became publicly acknowledged of a change of a CEO at Intellivision, as well as pouring through an SEC filing on the heels of the fourth crowdfunding campaign at Start Engine. There's been a lot of stuff happening the past week in terms of the Amico. A lot of people coming out and speaking about the project, or I guess the death of the project, larger YouTubers that were kind of silent beforehand. Investors are asking tougher questions. Nick Richards, the CFO, is commenting. There's a lot to go through.
This is this is the trade cutoff. You have to pick your side now. As a matter of fact, depending on the side you've picked, I'm not giving you any. I'm not giving you any leeway. But
history repeats itself.
Yeah,
this happened with the Chameleon.
Yep.
Where, Ian and I were critical of it, and not many other people were. You go back there, wasn't a lot of people critical of the Retro VGS and then the Chameleon, larger YouTubers.
I remember being critical of the Retro VGS, and I remember someone giving a shit for it. And I remember that person coming up to me and apologizing at a convention, and then that person
attacked us for this.
And then that person attacked me again because of the Amico, and they were whatever.
History repeats itself. This is one of the reasons why it's like, I don't want to, I'm not saying we're the most important people talking about this stuff, but if we weren't critical of this, no one was early on at all. People were giving interviews to Tommy all over the place, basically several hour infomercials, a certain tech reviewer with almost no pushback at all. None. So if it wasn't us
pre-ordered
leading the way in some form, I always look back, what would have happened? Would more people have gotten taken under this, more influence involved?
I don't think so.
More people, you never know, more people investing money into what's a failed venture. So we're at the point now where this is becoming, it was bigger news after E3, but now that it's falling apart more, you're going to have other people talking about it, which is fine.
This is the juicy part of it. This is where everyone's going to get in on the action.
But I don't want to see any YouTubers try to come in both sides of this shit and be like, well, you have the cultists, but also the people that are, over the top. It's like, you err on the side of caution when it comes to these ventures, and this is the reason why. If you're going to say, well, you guys a little bit too much energy, because we don't want people to lose money and get scammed.
Yeah,
like, that's what it comes down to. So I'm sorry. This goes back to the same Chameleon where I got attacked for being too critical when that fell apart in Ian 2. I'd rather be the guy that's a little bit louder when he shouldn't be versus saying absolutely nothing for years.
Saying some of the unpopular, not quite as feel-good things. Like, doesn't need to be a huge hug box every time someone wants to make a new console.
No one does. Everyone doesn't have to be friends with everyone. You're allowed to be impolite to people in society. If you're allowed to call people out on their bullshit. And I'm sort of sick and tired because you see the same people sometimes that sit on the sidelines until, wow, the wind's blowing the other way, Ian. Well, I got to get in on it now because if I don't now, like, stick your neck out a little bit. I'm not saying you got to go all the way all the time, but if something is obviously looking bad, feel free to stick your neck out just a tad bit. Just a tad bit. It won't get cut off. It's weird. But that's the first thing I'm going to talk about there, or did talk about. We forgot to mention this going down the list of stuff here. The 2021 earnings, we don't know what they look like yet entirely.
No, we don't.
The SEC filing doesn't include that, and they did say they're going to update those soon.
So when they talked about the SEC filing, the earnings were shown for 20, and obviously their current status is including what happened in 2021. We just don't know the exact numbers.
We don't know what's happening with that. We don't know. So Phil Adam went on another, following in Tommy's footsteps, doing all these little 2-hour backslapping meetups. I don't know at this point what to call them. He mentioned a weekly vacation for his birthday.
Circle jerks.
Circle jerks. He mentioned going on vacation for his birthday for a week, and people are allowed to go on vacation.
They absolutely are.
I don't take them nearly enough. But it's how it looks. Because this happened with Tommy a couple times where after a major disaster happened, like the E3 event last year, you get up and you leave town. And it just doesn't look good on the surface, especially when you have people hanging on, waiting for their pre-orders to come in or investors. But that's fine. That's fine. Do you have any thoughts on that or not really? It's just sort of like, the timing's a little weird. Why even mention that?
No, it's weird timing. You could have just kept that to yourself. You're talking... Because that was something Phil Adams said when he was talking to some of the people who tend to do all of the YouTubers who do all the PR for the Amico. These are the people that these are the people who are holding on. Like these are your faithful. You don't need to tell them stuff like that makes you look bad. I don't see it as a winning strategy if you're trying to keep people in place. Sure, go take that vacation, but don't be like, we're in financial ruin. I'm taking a week vacation.
Yeah, it's not good. Speaking of the cultists, so there was infighting amongst we'll say the inner Amico YouTuber party. You want to call it that?
Sure.
This group of
we can call it that.
Group of 8 to 10 people that are dying on this hill or dying on the hill. They're already in the ground at this point, including investors, at least 2 investors we know of that were involved in pushing this. One guy, and then we have Shirtless Shill is the other one that have done this. So apparently, some of these people went through the SEC document before it went live. This is according to one of the cultists, went through the document with Tommy. They all got on a 2-hour call and went through this document before it went live.
2 hours.
To explain it to them, in case, I guess, there was the pushback that was coming.
Well, they knew there was going to be pushback, so it was, here's the company talking points.
So they strategized, which I think has happened a lot along the way. They have their private little meetups to say, okay, Pat, you're going to talk about this.
We have kind of known that.
Yeah. And we know that because a lot of this time we would talk about something and then that night there'd be 17 videos.
Or they would announce something and then a video would be out immediately. Like they coordinated. Oh, yeah. They had a week to make these videos.
They coordinated. It was Access Media.
Yes.
It was Access Media.
It was, yes.
I mean, it was pathetic Access Media, but it was Access Media. So when you hear that, you really see how much of a circus it is and how much I always said this is an amateur company. I mean, for the amount of money that they've taken from people, it's not, but for how it's operated, it is. Why would you, what do you think, how do you think YouTubers that have the reach of, say, getting 300 people watching their videos or 500, how does that go against the tide of all the bad information in a document like that, that's common sense once you read it. Like, how do you think that even matters? Or is it just to make yourself feel better?
Right. Yeah, it's just to make yourself feel better.
That aside, the other big thing, not even big thing, but, you know, I had like a snaky Twitter direct message, you know.
A snaky Twitter direct message?
From a snake, saying that, oh, like big news about, you know, Phil Adam was involved at some point with the Coleco Chameleon venture with Mike Kennedy. And I knew about that.
Yes, we did know that, but we don't know for how long.
We don't know for how long. We don't know the extent. So for me, it's interesting, but not like the big fucking nuclear bombshell everyone purported to be. It's like the shirtless shill thought that, oh, that's the last straw for me, was that. Like, that should not have been the last straw. That should have been like, that's a cherry on top of this fucking shit Sunday. Like, that's not a last straw. Because again, we don't even know what Phil did with Mike Kennedy. We know maybe Phil saw it and got out. It does lead a track record, more importantly, of getting involved in bad project ventures. That's the biggest thing to me. Phil might have thought the Retro VGS / Chameleon was going to be a viable project at some point. So I can't fault them for that. Viable in terms of it actually being produced. It still would have been a disaster, but actually looking at the specs of the project, it had at least a chance of reaching some market versus the Amico, a cartridge-based system of older games. You know, basically the Evercade's filled in that gap, right? You know, in some way. So that's not the big, like, oh, this is the big bombshell thing. It's an interesting footnote. What's more interesting is the pathway of destruction of having, you know, a narcissistic CEO going after all his critics and having secret little cultist meetups to direct their marketing campaigns and helping them write their marketing and things like that. That's the red flags.
Yeah.
That's the red flags. Not having a firmware engineer hired 5 months before your release date, that's a red flag. So don't pretend this is the big deal if you ignored all the other shit that we were talking about for years. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Also interesting is the comment section over at Start Engine has none of the previous like comment sections ever really seemed to get people who were asking questions or anything like that. Not really the Fig Republic one. We still don't know if anything happened with Fundable.
Still don't know that.
Still don't know what the heck was going on with Fundable. But this comment section has been pretty active with a lot of potential investors asking good, thorough questions.
More educated investors.
And then watching, you know, Nick Richards come in and try to, you know, smooth talk his way through it. One thing we've learned that I would like to point out that and it's funny because it goes back to what we suggested that maybe they should have done the first time around. We are catching wind of these Amico games may be released on other platforms and maybe retrofitted for DLC and free-to-play mechanics.
For mobile.
When this started, when we were nice, my big suggestion was that maybe we publish these games first. Maybe we do a whole pack of, like, you know, the Cloudy Mountain, the Night Stalker, etc. Mm-hmm. Or you just release those under an Intellivision publishing label. Or you release a pack of games like Atari does. You know, get some publishing experience under your belt before you go and try and make a system. And they were like, no. They said, it was told to us multiple times that these games required the Amico and could not play without the Amico controller. The Amico controller was so revolutionary that all of the games, none of the games on the Amico could be played with a regular D-pad and buttons controller.
Even though you could download the app to use your phone as an extra controller. And we'll ignore that.
Even though the first two demos they released, one was on the PC and one was on your phone, and they both work just fine with keys and regular
Moon Patrol and Breakout on your computer. And Moon Patrol on the app was fine.
Yep.
This is the quote from Nick responding to someone talking about the SAM, which I learned was what was that? Serviceable
area market?
Serviceable available market.
I mean, available.
So what's your potential pool of customers? What's your customer pool? What's the number?
Are they still saying 3 billion? Because they did put that on the campaign.
Yeah. They think that everyone that owns a smart person in the world,
a smartphone,
Smart. Yeah. So as I say, smart person.
Yeah, you said everyone owns a smart person.
Everyone owns a smartphone in the world, whether in Chicago, Bangladesh, Japan, South Africa, the Congo. Everyone is apparently someone who buys mobile games, right? No, that's not true.
That's not. They're also including places like India in that, where like people they don't have TVs, they have phones.
Sure.
Like it's insane.
Yeah. So they're not taking that into account. None of it. So this is what Nick said in response to this. It hasn't been widely discussed, as it is not a focus on launch, on what is your focus, but we do plan to develop games for mobile, both as a revenue stream and to provide broader exposure for our Amico platform. These games will not have the same restrictions that we impose on the Amico platform, meaning you selling by DLC.
Right.
Given the types of games we plan to develop, both internally and in partnership with third parties, we calculated an addressable market of approximately $19 billion for the mobile segment.
How many billion?
19 billion. That's a B of dollars that they can get out of people. I guess they're saying, well, if there's 3 billion people, they all spend like $6 to $7 each. Here's the thing about mobile that Tommy, on his rants on Atari Age, another red flag if you want to be an investor, he always said that, well, look how much money the mobile market has, not failing to address that most people don't spend a dime on mobile games.
Right, it's whales.
It's the people that get in and spend hundreds of dollars on in-app
purchases, which you've cut out of your fucking ecosystem.
That brings the average up. But if you look at the median or the mode, if you know stats, most people spend next to nothing on mobile games every year.
Yes.
They'll play whatever's free. That's your market. People that don't want to spend money on games, that's your 3 billion people.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Exactly. People who already have what I was trying to say with like the you know, in places where TVs aren't as prevalent or there's tons of people, they play games on these things because it's what they already have.
Yes.
It doesn't require any thought. They don't have to go buy a TV. They don't have to go buy a system. They don't have to go buy anything. A phone is, I mean, it's getting to this point, I don't feel bad saying it, because you're getting to the point where smartphones, they give them away for free when you get off of like the train. Like anyone can get one.
You can buy a burner smartphone for 15, $20.
A houseless person can get a phone.
Yes.
Like it's important to have a phone. Everyone has a phone with a screen.
Yes.
There is no further investment. That's why these people play these games. Not because no one's going to make that leap from I play this game on my phone that I already have to I'm going to buy a $250 system that plays this shit.
Companies probably take a tech loss a lot of times because they want to get you on the subscription plan.
Right.
So it's a loss leader getting these pieces of technology that are cheaper, but everyone has them. There's a lot of questions on here. Someone pointed out sort of the false statements here. Let me see if I can find it about the $500 consoles. Here, do you see that one?
Oh, I don't have that statement stated, but basically someone was pointing out that, you know, in their advertising, they say, you know, many game consoles are upwards of $500. No game console is more than $500 right now. And the Switch and the Xbox and even the PlayStation 5 all have versions under $5.
Kelly says this. You may want to correct these two pieces of false information in your marketing above. One, under patents, you make it seem like this has been granted, but your SEC disclosure reveals it is only pending. Probably for the horror, but also their bullshit karma engine.
Yes.
Please make this clear unless it has been fully granted since the disclosure. Again, trying to be sneaky. Number two, you state most of today's gaming systems cost upwards of $500.
They do.
However, none of them do. A quick check reveals the Switch costs $299, Xbox Series S $299, PS5 Digital $399, Xbox Series X $499, and PlayStation 5 $499. These last two include full Blu-ray players in them. It would be highly misleading to add in costs of extra peripherals or controllers, as those are not a system cost, which is correct, Kelly.
Yes.
You are correct. They are optional, and these systems support very inexpensive third-party controllers. Anyway, any false statements cast doubt on everything else, so it would be in your best interest to be accurate and amend your text accordingly. Thank you, Kelly. And Nick tried to wriggle his way around that, which is bullshit.
Oh, did he? I didn't see his response to that. The other day, he didn't have a response yet.
Hello, Kelly. Yes, it is correct that we have not yet received final approval of our patent submission. I will talk to Start Engine about changes to make that clear. Sorry for the confusion, and thank you for pointing out. Yeah,
you're not sorry at all. That was the point.
We were trying to compare apples to apples, so when our core bundle includes 2 controllers and 6 games, it isn't necessarily an apples to apples comparison against a system with 1 controller and no games. Since we don't have a similar scaled-down bundle, we tend to try and draw a fair comparison. So with the cost of a new Xbox and PS5 at $499 plus an extra controller at $55 to $70, and just say one game at $60, even though you can buy a ton of games on the digital marketplace, like $4, $5, he doesn't bring that up, to make it equal to the value of the games on Amico, you're looking at $614 to $625. Of course, he ignores the Switch. Of course, he ignores the digital, PS5 that's only $400.
That's been like one of their calling cards, though. Like when called out on a bunch of questions, they answer a couple with halfway answers and then just don't ever answer the questions that make them look bad or acknowledge, that there's competition.
David with a great one here underneath, and if you see it. At the end of the day, I think it's all about when the Amico can be released. Yeah, because that's when you make money. David knows this. A firm date and an achievable plan of how you guys are going to get there will be something that might entice me to invest. I think people really want to know exactly where manufacturing is at. Do you have a manufacturer? How much money will it take to get 10,000 units produced? How quickly can they be produced once the money is paid? Brilliant questions. Once the Amico is out there, even if the games and OS are not as polished as one would hope, it means revenue is trickling in. And even if more funds are then required to move things to the next level, there would at least be a much greater level of confidence than what we all currently have. That's a smart investor. This isn't enough. I want the complete story before David puts his money in. Brilliant. And there's more. So these investors are putting feet to the fire. Nick's scrambling in here. And you know why he's scrambling, Ian? Where has the investments been in the past week? How much more have they got in the past week?
They have made 10,000 more whole dollars in the past week. I don't remember the exact... I don't remember the exact number, but I do clearly remember checking during the segment last week, and it was 48,000 something. They had been at 53, but it dropped back down to 48 because someone pulled out an investment, and now they're at 58. So they've raised a whopping $10,000 in 7 days. This is dead as a doornail.
But anyone that's investing the money, you feel bad for because they're not getting it back.
Right. The minimum they needed to raise, I think it was like a minimum of 10,000. This is like a flex thing. If they raised a minimum of 10,000, they would get that.
They get it all.
Up to a maximum of 5 million is them meeting their goal. But they are never, ever, ever meeting their goal.
No. The money's gone. Holly and her dogs, their money's gone on Republic. Nick answered Holly. I don't know if it was a response because we brought up Holly, but he answered her. She was there forever without an answer. Nick, the CFO, said, "Hi, Holly. We continue to push forward and we'll be announcing later this month when the initial units will start shipping." So, poor Holly there. Yeah, so lots of good questions on there. I forgot to say this could have been a red flag as well. You have to talk. I'm going to bring it up again.
If you're into games with blood and violence and sexual content and kids in sexual compromising positions and rape on the Nintendo, if that's what you want, then buy a Switch.
That's a CEO statement that instills confidence in me as an investor who wants to put money in. That's not a red flag. It took a guy formerly being connected with the collegiate community. That was fine though. That was all fine. That was fine. Okay. The Reddit brought up something. We're going to, I guess the last portion of this, unless you want to talk about something else, is some of the other comments on Start Engine. They have been identified, some of the identities of some of these people. Ian, did you see that on the Reddit?
Yes, I did see that. So I have made it this far without ever mentioning any of them by name, and I'm going to continue to not mention them by name because that's not my focus. But I did see on the Reddit that many...
You don't want to say their YouTube name or their real or their first name?
I'm just not going to bring them up. We never have, and I'm not going to.
I'll say their comments, though. Can I say their comments?
Sure, you can do that.
Okay. So it's not bad enough that these cultists and some investors have been blind to all these issues the past few years. That wasn't enough. And a lot of their faces got put in this... influencer video that's 2 years old that's now been making the rounds.
Yeah, that 2-year-old influencer video got a fresh set of eyes on it, and some people have noticed that they're in there and their words were taken
out of context.
For instance, Shane of Rerez was taken out of context, saying, and of course Tommy took this because Tommy's an egotistical maniac. Shane was echoing a sentiment that I think a lot of people had around the early time, that early time, and it was, well, if someone can do it, it's probably Tommy. And I don't know where we all got that idea.
I didn't get that idea anywhere.
We let people we let people get reputations that they don't deserve. But a lot of people kind of felt like, well, if anyone was going to do it, it'd be Tommy. You know, wished him well. So, you know, they used the line of him being like, if anyone can do it, it's Tommy, but didn't include the direct next sentence, which was, but I don't think this is going to succeed. This is going to have a really like difficult uphill battle. Even the stuff that they pulled from like Metal Jesus Rocks was taken out of context in a segment that had, you know, some disparaging stuff to say. Sure. The positive comment that was taken from him was followed up with a line about how he didn't like the controller and he thinks the controller is going to be a tough sell. So, I mean, even back then, they are really like bits and pieces, parceling out what they can get that's good and misrepresenting what people's opinions are of it.
So there is at least 4 investors / cultists that commented on this newest crowdfunding campaign on Start Engine, trying to drag others down with them. This is where it's over the line, beyond over the line, because now you're actually trying to take people's money. You're trying to take people's money. Like, you have no shame, obviously. Just you should be humbled at this point and just go down with the ship quietly. But the fact that you're now potentially trying to influence people to lose their money on this shit is nuts.
Yeah, it's denial. There's no way you're going to talk enough people into this that you're going to get the $5 million and this is going to be a success and you're ever going to see your money back. Why are you trying to convince people into throwing money away just because you were stupid enough to do so?
Shirtless Shill left a comment to try to get other people to invest money on here, like, it looks like.
24 hours before having the change of heart.
Yeah, because all the red flags were enough. Another investor who has, according to this image, over 300 videos tagged with Amico. 300 trying to get people to invest. I personally played this gaming console multiple times at events and met a few of the great people at this company. This is a fun, innovative machine that will be enjoyed by families everywhere. I really love the multiplayer co-op / team building aspect of this. It offers great
team building.
It offers great trivia and party games, as well as catering to the old school nostalgia.
Have we seen a
retro gaming crowd?
One trivia game? One?
A slam dunk. Can't lose. Very excited to play again and share with everyone I know. This is gonna be big. You ain't getting your money back. It's gone.
Gone.
Your investment's gone, and so is all your wasted time and effort. Enjoy your physical products on your shelf.
Maybe next time listen to people when they have like concerns instead of just using it as a way to be reactionary and anti someone else.
I would say
so many people got into this fucking system, by the way, because they don't like us.
Yeah, it became the anti-patenting system.
Oh, that was a stupid idea, backing a system because we don't like two dudes. Fuck you.
Yeah, that really worked out. Your reps. If you
I'm gonna show them.
Yeah, you really showed us. Think you're gonna prove us wrong. It worked out.
I wonder if any authors have any thoughts about this. Just curious.
The authors are being really quiet right now when it comes to this stuff.
I wonder if there's any authors with something
How about
to
another
say.
passive-aggressive video at us, asshole? You can do that at some point. The balls to even say our names. And then there was another person here that helped set up one of the events they're talking about. As someone who has spent time covering the Amico and getting to know many of the executives at the company, I can tell you that I've never been so excited for a gaming product. Not only have I been covering the project, but I have a Founders Edition pre-ordered. As a married father of 3, I believe this is a gaming system that will bring my family and I back together in the living room to enjoy fun, simple games again. Nothing will be better than coming home from a long day's work and sitting down with my 3 girls to play a quick game of Shark together.
Just a little bit of advice. So that people who don't like us don't make this embarrassing decision again. Your enemy's enemies aren't your friend, dumbass.
And somehow putting in money into a failed venture to prove us wrong on top of it, that's just like, you're not just digging your own grave, you are plummeting into the molten core of the earth.
Look at us sitting here, so owned. We're so owned.
And I'm not even running victory laps yet, really.
No.
Victory laps can come later.
I wasn't planning on it. I'm sorry, that was building up in me.
Yeah, but like, it's insane. And again, this is going to happen more. Okay, quickly, what are the next steps? Because we got about a half hour left where Ian has to leave.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
For the good old
I got to
job.
go. Yeah.
Refunds. The word should be loud and clear. People you know, that have pre-ordered this refunds. There's an email. I don't have it in front of me, but you go to the website, ask around.
I think it's like I look around, but I think it's like Kevin at Intellivision Entertainment or something like that is the person you contact for a refund.
I hope you're right, Ian, or else Kevin, whoever the Kevin is on Intellivision, will be pissed at us. But contact Intellivision, tweet at them, DM them, Facebook. Get your refund back now, because something tells me there's not going to be money back for refunds later for however many people still have this. 5,000 people, So, like, get it now. Then accountability is coming. It's already kind of came down on some of these influencers that have ruined whatever little reputation they have and lost money potentially. But I think there'll be accountability also professionally for the people involved, for ex-CEO, Tommy, for current folks. They'll probably try to Phil Adam, if he was involved potentially before with a failed venture, he might show up again just to get some cash. I don't know, but there should be accountability for those involved. And then finally, down the line, if we get to that point, and if there's an investigation, civil/criminal penalties for those involved if there was anything fraudulent that occurred or misrepresentations. But that's way down the line.
Yeah,
that's going to happen way down the line if it happens. We already know the SEC was aware of misrepresentation before. We covered that with the Jay Allard stuff when he was, saying, "Oh, we got the guy who did the Xbox." No, you don't. You don't have him anymore. You haven't. You can't say that in a sleazy marketing video. You can't say this shit in interviews. You can't do that when you're running a company. You can't make up shit that you still have people working with you that help launch the Wii and shit. You can't say this shit and get away with it, in my estimation, and trick people and investors. So that's the next steps coming down the line. So that's where we end off for now.
That's it.
This is happening so quickly now that maybe we won't talk about this for another month, maybe in a week or two. We don't know, because we didn't think we were talking about it last week. We didn't think.
No, like I said during last week's segment, literally 2 days before, I said, "Has anything been going on with the Amico?"
Yes,
I hadn't been paying attention. This week I've been up on it.
Well, we're gonna get the next date by the end of the month. They said so in 2 weeks.